East Coast of the United States. I have no idea what time it is down and under, but it is time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Hey, this is Dave, and I'm not sure where Mecky is. I don't think I've got a message from him yet. Looking forward to getting one, or seeing him join the show, because this is Shiny Side Out. That's what it is. Shiny Side Out. Oh, that's not what I wanted to display. Broadcasting from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That is the home to fresh ideas. Let me do that. Let me see if that worked. No. Oh, well, I'll just put it back to that. There we go. Join us in the chat room and talk to us while we're on air. And this is show number 692. 692 is what it is. Who knew? Who actually knew? Who knew that we'd get this many shows done? It's really weird. I can't seem to. Camera is sending at a low frame rate this big. Good on you. Whatever that means. So, tune in to us online and on your smart device directly via an app, or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. You can do that. If you miss Solaris' show, I'm sure it was fantastic. Let me see. I don't have a message from Solaris today. Normally I do. That's all right. Another time for that. But, you know, she always has great guests, always has great shows. And you know what? You can fix your problem by going into the station's archives, and it's free to access the archives. And then you can download her shows, our shows, all of the hosts' shows that appear on Revolution Radio, both Studio A and B. It is something you can do. Don't be afraid. It's in MP3 format, and it's so easy to consume. It's so good. You can do it. That way you can binge. You can download tons of shows and then just listen to them in your leisure. And they're all date stamped. So our shows, you'll have to know the date that we're on. And that's both for Plato's Cave, which is, we do 2 shows a week for that. And this is a single, 2 separate hours we do for Shiny Side Out. You can find us both, on everywhere, right? We're on Rumble, we're on Spotify, we're on X and YouTube as well. And do look out for our short reels, or shorts, or reels, or I don't know what you want to call them, whatever they are. We're putting those out through YouTube. And I've got to tell you that we're getting some pretty good numbers. One of the things that we've found that our shows on YouTube, our archives, wouldn't get very many views. That's fine. At least we have them somewhere else. Yeah, like let's consider it a backup. But in the last 7 days, we've had 8,000 views of our reels, because they're really easy to consume. The last 28 days is 22,325 currently, and that's only going to go up from here. And we would only get, say, 200 views a month, and that's an extra 22,300 views that we're getting these days. So happy days for us. Great success, and we're using an AI product to be able to split our regular show into little consumable segments, and we're using Opus. So do get yourself, we're not paid by them. I'm just loving the tool. It's fantastic. You can even use all our old shows, which are on YouTube. Just drag a link to it and voila. There you go. You can split it up. It does what it wants. And then you can also do it manually if you wish. You can edit what it's done, but it does all the hashtags, does a brief description about what it is. It's quite a good tool. I'm just going to tell you straight away. So I'm going to go into the legacy chat room because we're using Discord now. Discord is a unique product, unique to gaming initially, but a lot of people are using it. Now we're using it, and I believe that the stream, the video stream, is much better than it's ever been. So if you're currently listening to this through the Element.io platform, jump into Studio A, and there you can listen to the shows live. There's a Listen Studio A little thing. You click on it and suddenly you're listening. It's fantastic. And you can chat while you're in there. So do that and see what happens next. It's a crazy old world. Wherever you are, it's only getting crazier. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's just on the blind. I'm going to say that right now. So let me have a look. I've got some news stories already lined up. For our show today. Spent some time doing that today. Looks like I'm getting scammed by a copy of Bill Chalker. It's a bit of a shame there. Everyone's getting kind of hit with these crazy things. I've got a news story here. I'm just going to open it up. See more. I want all comments. Because people are putting big name places are now putting up their pardon me. I've developed rather a cough, to be honest with you. All right, let me have a look. I'm going to put this onto the middle screen from another account. There we go. And it's an attempt. Here we go. An attempt to bring to life a story that we talked about a little while ago. So 1 second while I prepare that. And you know what? There's other news stories, but the main ones that I wanted to bring up, I have for you. So the first thing I want to bring up is this story here. Now I'm going to share my middle screen, and I don't know what's going to happen if I do the video screen. Let me see. No, not yet. Hang on a minute. Oh, that's not going to work today, I don't think so. That's weird. It's really weird not having Meki on a call. I really want Meki on a call. Yeah, that's really weird. That is so weird. Let me try doing... No, it's not going to let me. It's really not going to let me. That's where Meki would be. He would be on the side. But, so I won't bother. I'll just... Oh, no, that's actually... I want to show that. So I'll turn that off. There we go. Fantastic. I've now eliminated the technical difficulties. So, let's start. If you remember Towering Inferno, I do. I was a kid when it came out. It's kind of frightening to see. So this show it doesn't go out to children. Yeah, this show is restricted on YouTube and Rumble and all those platforms. So at least they can't see it. And there's a Meki. I cannot hear Meki.
Can you hear me now?
I can now. When you speak, it's probably good.
Speaking, she helps you. Good afternoon, all.
So,
trouble with the machine. Go on, yep.
So, if you... I can't really send you stuff anymore because in the chat... Let me see if I can. It'll be on another platform. Hang on. Un momento, por favor. Let me just put that back to there. Click on this. And I'm just sending you... I'll put all the stories through to that platform, if you will. It's got a green icon if you know what I'm talking about. All right. So, back to middle screen. Remember 9/11 and Towering Inferno, the movies? When would you, having seen that, would you ever want to live in a tall apartment block? There is currently a tall apartment block on fire in Dubai. And there's 764 apartments, 3,820 people. Massive fire erupts in 67-story building. And it's violent fire too. And there's no cause yet. But I wanted just to remind people that the high-rise living is good in prosperous times when things are safe. There's no earthquakes, because that's kind of bad. And food is plentiful, and our supply chains are non-stop. Once we get to the point where any of those, or multiple, or all of them happen, including world conflict, the last place you would ever want to be is in a high-rise building. That's what I'm saying. So keeping an eye out for what happens to this building after the fire, how severe the fire is, and is the building still going to be standing? Because I think that's a good measuring stick, like that Mexico all steel constructed building, which never fell down, or despite burning for 70 hours or something. So in the same kind of vein here, just calling it out, just use it as the measuring stick, and we'll see what happens. Next, Meki. No comment? Any comment?
Keep going.
No. All right. So the next story that I've got is it's a shame that I think the world is collapsing into a place where, you know, maybe we could have second thoughts when we leave our house, if we leave our front doors open, if someone knocks on the front door. This is a tragedy, and I don't care what your political persuasion is. I want to say this is just absolutely terrible. So Hortman and Hortman's, so this is the breaking. 2 Minnesota Democratic lawmakers were shot last night in their homes by a man impersonating a police officer. He even had a squad car with lights, looked like one of those black SUVs with lights. State Rep Melissa Hortman and State Senator John Hoffman both recently voted against their party, with Hortman supporting repeal of free health care for illegals and Hoffman joining Republicans in the state Senate to pass it. That's what the story says. And I watched a police officer who reported from that state saying their squad car pulled up and saw, at a different house, mind you, a fake squad car and the policeman at the front door, and he ran inside, and well, you can get to the rest of the story yourself. But they discovered him later on down the street, and then backtracked and found that family. And so he had a lot of pamphlets talking about Stop the Kings, I think, or whatever the thing was. That King's March, you know, no kings or whatever. So it frightened me, Meki, because I've been talking about the world as having kingdoms now.
Well, look, I think in the final analysis, we are now living in the age of unpredictability. And by that I mean, for 80 years, we've lived in an era where we know exactly what to expect in the morning. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We know exactly where we are. We know exactly what's going to happen. We know exactly how we should react. We know exactly how others would react. All that went down the toilet. Okay, all of it. And it happened. This extreme uncertainty, the extreme inability to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. It happened with the election of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency. Okay, does he want to be a king? Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Does he want to tell everybody what to do and how to do it, etc.? The answer is yes again, because I mean you have to look at the briefings he gives his cabinet and what's at least what's broadcast to us. You know, they're not cabinet briefings. There's a table of people that try to outdo each other in their level of sycophancy towards Donald Trump.
That's right.
Astounding. It is so. I mean, the thing is, it's so put on. It's so over the top. One has to ask
it's
oneself,
like the corporate world.
Is it real?
Isn't it like the corporate world?
It's worse. But yes, you're right. But if this happened in the corporate world, I mean, you
depends on who your CEO is. Trust me.
Well, that's true enough. That's true enough. But they're all going, oh no. Well, first of all, before we talk about anything else, I want to thank you, Mr. President, for your wonderful, for your extraordinary and charismatic leadership.
I know it hurts saying that. I know it hurts saying it. I know.
Right?
So I will. Yeah, go on. So wait. I worked in a C-level reporting to a CEO who would pre-arm people with. Mickey's video's gone there. It'll come back. He would pre-arm people with a question, and then he would sit back and he said, "When I look at you, I want you to ask that question." And so he would then look at you and you had to ask the question, and then he would just have the popcorn. He'd be virtually eating the popcorn, watching them struggle, because he knew that the question was going to reveal something about either their work performance or what they didn't do, about maybe someone else's guilt, or it would be very... He enjoyed every minute of it.
Awesome. How on a scale from 5 billion to infinity, how awesome do you think I am? With 5 billion being awesome,
that's the starting point.
Even more awesome. It's like, what? Excuse me? But that's, I mean, fair enough.
On the blind, I'm going to say infinity -1, because no one's perfect.
Infinity plus infinity times amazing. Times amazing.
It's the square of infinity to infinity and beyond.
To the power of you smell awesome. You smell of awesome.
You even smell awesome, sir.
I've seen sycophancy. I've seen sucking up. I've seen all kinds of things in corporate life, right? And you're right, but it is so over the top and so incredible that truly, I think when I see it, I ask myself, are they taking the Mickey? Are they making? Did they before they went into the room? Did they all have a pact to see who can be the most outrageous in this? and look, I don't know, but because the thing is, if someone did this to me, Dave, I'll be honest with you. Someone said, "Oh, Mickey, you're just such an incredible human being."
So here we go.
As a comparison, you are now the pinnacle of humanity. That's what you are. Like, okay, sure.
I would question every other word they said.
Yeah, 100%. But no, set up. He sits there, and like a king. I have no words. But look, and then the problem is though that this is different to the first. His first administration, his first time around when he was president, it's very different because there are no people left in his cabinet that will say no to him, so whatever idea he has is the best idea at that point in time in the history of the human race. It's the best idea ever. And the thing is this, right? I want to put this in perspective. If Donald Trump had not been elected, okay, we would not be looking at an ethnic cleansing of Gaza. We would not be looking at an Iran-Israel war, which might get bigger. We would not be looking at Ukraine and Russia in uncertain terms. right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that would not have happened. He is not the Prince of Peace. He likes to think he is, which is really interesting. Do you know why? Do you know who the Prince of Peace is, Dave, in common vernacular?
No.
Satan. Satan is called the Prince of Peace in the Bible.
Nice.
Lucifer. Lucifer is the Prince of Peace. And I think, Lord of the Flies and King of the Air and blah blah blah. But he's definitely the Prince of Peace. So yeah, look, he wants to do all these things, and he's got billionaires in his cabinet, and it's just the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's so funny. And now, I mean, today, right now, either right now or maybe we just missed it. The parade, the military parade.
Oh, that was today. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Tens of millions of dollars. But to your point about the people being shot, now they were state representatives.
That's right.
Democratic state representatives, and one couple was killed, and the other one was just wounded. I mean, just right. But I'm not too sure why they were targeted. To be honest.
Yeah, well, the story that I read was that they voted against their party, and that's all. That's all I know. I'm not saying that's the reason for it. Who knows? Who knows? Because, you've got to think about the setup here. Here's a person with a vehicle that's disguised as a police vehicle with all the blue and red lights and everything. They had a vest, a taser, a gun, police uniform, a badge and everything. I listened to the policeman talking about this. He said, if you didn't have them standing side by side with another officer, you wouldn't question that they were an officer. It was that good.
I mean, that takes a lot of that takes a lot of doing. That's not something you just
you don't drive out of the McDonald's drive-through and go, I'm going to go and do this thing now. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, that's right. A whole plan. You got to know when they are, where they're not, and then enact it. Right? There's weapons involved. There's a whole bunch.
Look, I've had my revenge fantasies in my head, of course, and as everybody does. But look, the thing is this, right? Even when it comes to violent crime or even self-harm, let's say, right? And this is advisory, please listen to this. If you've got these kinds of thoughts, don't listen to this. But my friend, who's a clinical psychologist, he says to me, nobody really worries about someone who says they're going to commit suicide or violent crime until they can tell you step by step what they've done or all the things they have prepared to do it. At that point, once they say, "Oh no, I've purchased this, and this is how I'm going to do it. This is steps 1 through 10, or or whatever the case may be, and this is the overall plan." At that point, you really start worrying. If if someone just says something, like a throwaway comment or whatever, right? Yeah, whatever, sure, doesn't matter. But once you've got one plan, number one, and two, start to prepare the plan. Maybe the plan is already there, except for the final element. Maybe you've got all the elements already prepared. Maybe you've bought all the things you need to buy or prepared all the things you need to prepare. Right? If that is the case, that's when you start worrying, because this person is now actually serious. They've actually taken steps to carry out what they said they would do. Right? And if someone has a cop car, a uniform, and all kinds of stuff, all that stuff, that's plan as well in the way. Execution is definitely happening here. That's somebody had to surely have realized, because if I start all of a sudden, I bought myself a car and made it look like a police car here in my neighborhood, and I started buying myself all the uniform and whatever, someone would have thought. I think someone should have said, "Hey, maybe something isn't quite kosher here. Right? Let's just talk to him for a bit." I just find it astounding.
Totally,
people just let
100%. Yeah, there's certainly a very long path that someone would have to take to be able to do it. Mekhi, remember the story I told you about? I think it was last week or the week prior, where they've abandoned a ship that was full of EVs that were on fire. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Well, it's still on fire. And it says that it's burnt through. Yeah, it's burnt through the hull now. It's still on fire. And it says their concerns over an abandoned EV carrier floating aimlessly in the Pacific Ocean could continue to burn for weeks as horror pics have revealed the true scale of the at-sea inferno. Salvage operations have finally reached the Morning Midas, that's what it's the ship name, around 350 kilometers south of Adak, Alaska. After a week, it first caught fire and 22 crew were rescued by the US Coast Guard. So it's,
Wow.
yeah, they're talking about the cost is 80 million at least for the vehicles.
That's
It's-
I mean,
so-
but how will they stop the fire? Because clearly this is now a
Yeah.
chemical fire, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's an exothermic lithium reaction to oxygen, and so the first thing you need to do is reduce the temperature. They're in the northern Arctic Circle countries. I forget who it was, Holland or Sweden. They had worked out a way of being able to arrest an EV fire because at the moment you just let it burn itself out. But it creates toxic, cancerous smoke, and you don't want to breathe any of it in.
Yeah.
If it happens in an underground tunnel, it's ferocious and it could set other vehicles on fire. It's so hot. And then remember, all the people in there are going to be breathing in noxious fumes, and it's really, really bad for you long term. So they determined that the best thing to do if there's a car that's burst into flames on the side of the road is a specially created vehicle that they bust a hole in the back window of the car, usually the safest place, and then pump the car full of near zero salt water. And it does two things. One, the salt water itself, it creates a short and shorts out the electricals. Number two, the coldness of it arrests the temperature, or thermal runaway, as it's like to be known. And the salt also, shorts out the batteries immediately and creates a dead short, and then eliminates the entire problem. Just within a couple of minutes, the car is then no longer a threat. So if you have a car that has been burnt and you tow it to some yard, it's still able to then reburst back into flames again, but not if you treat it in the way I've just suggested. So it's really interesting that they should, the experts are now saying that none of the car carrying ships, the ones that are carrying EVs, are set up to even fight a fire, because fuel, the amount of kilojoules in fuel is way more than the kilojoules in an EV. However, regular sprinklers will arrest the heat from a regular car fire and prevent it spreading to other cars. You might get some smoke damage, but not much else. But an EV fire is so ferocious and the sprinklers are completely useless against it. In fact, it doesn't even stop it at all. It's as though they're not even on. Therefore, you stand to lose everything, including the ship. Thinking about an EV that would be parked in someone's house, in their garage, with a common roof, not separated like you would normally find. Joined apartment buildings must have fire regulation walls, fireproof walls between apartments, between the shared common space and the roof. That doesn't even happen. And we don't have regulations because regular cars don't just burst into flames in your garage. So the EV world, like the front doesn't fall off, Becky. It's not supposed to fall off. So in the same way, you have to consider the risk, and I'm sure that right around the corner is going to be an evaluation from insurance companies for houses to suggest whether, have a question on their questionnaire as part of their risk assessment. Do you have an EV? Do you park it in the garage? Is your garage separated from your house? What else do you have in your garage? Because at some point, they're probably going to have a fireproof storage area for it so that if it does burst into flames, it won't affect the rest of the house.
And look, I think that's a very good point you're making there. Again, we're we've got law or the general framework of law that is still catching up to reality. Almost every area of endeavor that we have as human beings has now gone to a point where the existing law, no longer covers all eventualities, including insurance considerations. And that's a very good point because there's no insurance policy in the world that would state that electric anything, be it a scooter, a car, a bike, whatever it might be, with a certain type of battery, poses a risk to your house or your life.
That's
At
right.
this point, at least, it doesn't exist. So you're right, and we're playing catch up again with something that has moved so fast ahead of us that we can no longer accurately deal with it. I had no idea this ship was still on fire, but certainly we're hearing more and more about these electric, let's call them devices, catching on fire, overheating. I mean, it started with telephones. I don't know if you remember, you were not allowed to bring put certain telephones or lithium-ion devices into your luggage in a plane.
That's right.
Just not allowed to do it.
Yeah,
There were cases where the phones burst into flames in someone's pocket or on a plane in the overhead compartment or whatever the case may be. And you're thinking, what? What?
The phone itself was meant to be a Samsung Galaxy phone, but in the end, it wasn't proven. No one could prove anything. No other phones of that brand had ever just spontaneously burst into flames.
Yeah.
Was it a one-off? Who knows?
Well, yeah, but it does remind you of the spontaneous
combustion. Yeah, that's right.
Where human beings have spontaneously, which I mean, we have photographs of this happening where someone is completely burned up, except maybe for a foot in a boot.
Yep.
The chair they're sitting in is slightly singed, and the rest of the room is completely untouched.
That's right.
Though it would have taken several thousand degrees for the body to be reduced to ashes. It's not easy to burn a human body. But anyway, I'm digressing. But is this one of those phenomena? Like Dave said, is this one of those things? Where you go, oh, I don't know. It's a mystery. We just don't know. Maybe, right? So
is it caused by realities crossing over? That's my question.
Well, that's
who knows.
Actually, an excellent question as well.
Bit of quantum foam here and there, woof.
Look, and Dave is actually serious, and so am I when we talk about these things, because we've got examples of this happening to us, right? Not things bursting into flames, as it were, but rather realities shifting
Deja
all
vu.
around us. And some of the stories, deja vu is a big one, but there's no good explanation for these. And I'm not going to bore you again with my stories, but there are things that just don't make any sense, right? And I wonder, Dave, if what we're seeing today, the world we are now, occupying, as it were, isn't the result of the collapse of realities into their worst possible outcomes, to a point.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm thinking about this. In what world could we have possibly gotten to the point where we are today?
I never thought we'd be here.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about Donald Trump at all. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, Russia invading the Ukraine. I'm talking about Israel thinking it's a good idea to ethnically cleanse Gaza and now attack Iran. I mean, Iran is a serious military power, right? Let's be very clear here. And two other things as well. And now, the funniest thing of all, China was the nation that weathered the global financial crisis the best. They were in the best shape after it and during it, right? Funny, right? Communist country. 2, China is now seen by many countries as a beacon of light and hope, if you will, because America has pulled out of that role. I mean, who would have thunk it? I mean, honestly, it's like, what? The connection that the United States had with Canada and Mexico. Certainly Canada, maybe Mexico, not so much, but certainly Canada, you think, this is the relationship that, this will be there forever. I mean, the two countries are both liberal democracies, right? They both, largely speak English. They have a very similar culture and I guess outlook on life in many ways. But no, God, that relationship's down the toilet too. Like, what?
That
So you
sounds
look at
right.
all of these things, as they pop up, and you ask yourself, how did we get here? And did we get here, or was this just something that presented itself to us? And again, I had to say it, right? But I've never seen in my life such a collection of incompetent and unqualified senior public figures in the government as I've seen now in the Trump administration. I've never seen anything like it. From Banana Republic, from go back to the Weimar Republic if you want. Go further back if you want. I've never seen anyone so blatantly incompetent and so ready to completely falsify a narrative, and demonstrably so, right? I mean, sometimes we try to be clever and just hide things, and we're clever enough we can do it. But some of these lies are so ridiculous. I'll give you a simple example. Like they said, the senator who was being cuffed didn't identify himself, right? Okay, well, maybe he didn't. Then whatever happens to him is on him. But he clearly does identify himself when he's in the room. I am Senator such and such, right? It's so obvious a lie that the mind boggles as to why anyone would even bother to lie about it. Like you will be found you're gonna be found out immediately. So if I'm at home and the only child and my parents keep the chocolate in a cupboard, and when they come home, the chocolate is gone, and there's my fingerprints all over the cupboard. There's chocolate stains all over my face, right? My hands are covered in chocolate. No, I didn't touch the chocolate. No, it wasn't clearly not me. Oh, okay, fair enough. It's not you. It's like, what? No, obviously it's me. What? I don't understand how someone could even begin to imagine they would get away with that kind of lie. Dave, it boggles the mind, my friend.
Everyone has the same tattoos that I have. Yep. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, everyone has one. I mean, I think you get them at birth or something, don't you? Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I thought that was the contract.
That's right. You signed a contract. Look, Meki, I wanted to say something else. We have Blatten got flattened. The Swiss town. And I've got it on the screen there.
Oh yes.
Right?
Yes.
We also have the large landslide in Croda Marcora between San Vito and Cortina just happened. The town was okay, but this was a huge landslide from their mountain. Their mountain isn't, kilometers high, but, it's okay. Kind of sad that, once again, it's weird. So we had two instances of a mountainside giving way. We now have Jettan, Jettan, seems to have broken away and is making its way down into the water. And it looks like it could cause a tsunami so large that Norway is going to go bye-byes, with 7,000 residents affected by the possible slip of this hillside, right? And then we have the other one. It's the Hochvogel. The mountain is split in half, and that's 2 kilometers high. And that whole side of the mountain is going to go down to the valley floor. Now, this is all in the Alps. What is happening? It's like Meki. It's like a balloon being inflated. Is the Alps now getting a press upward? Is the Indo-Pacific plate that Australia lives on with India that's smashed into that area of the world and is putting pressure on it? That's what's made the Alps rise up. Is that force from the Indian component of our plate? Is there still now a new amount of force going there? Because all these mountaintops are now all starting to fail.
Well, look. Clearly, there's some kind of mechanism that is being triggered that we're not aware of, and then I'll give you simple examples here as to because this has happened before. That like number one, and I'm speaking specifically about geology and such things. So number one, certain geographic features can't form. It takes millions of years, etc., etc. And you can't just have things appear or disappear overnight. Not true. Not true. Now people don't like to talk about it, but there's the island of Surtsey, which appeared literally overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just off the coast of Iceland. It's fairly large. It's not a small island. I mean, it's not huge, but it's not small either, right? And it has features on the island, that geologists would, swear up and down would take millions of years to form. But there it is, overnight. There it is, a volcanic island, right? 1, 2, permafrost. We didn't think permafrost would melt, and we certainly never realized how much methane, for example, would be released in the atmosphere once the permafrost melted. We had no idea. We also didn't quite understand that bacteria or other forms of small organisms would be released into the atmosphere as well, alive and well, after being frozen for thousands of years. Okay, no idea. The destruction or the extreme speed with which glaciers are melting, like, because when we looked at glaciers, right, we only looked at the surface melt, right? So we did certain calculations, we put it into our models, and it came up with certain numbers, etc., etc. What we completely failed to understand is that a glacier, or ice in general, an ice sheet, doesn't just melt from the top; it melts from the bottom as well, right? Because ice is not homogeneous. Okay, ice will form into rivulets, little channels that run through the ice where water runs, for example, giving like the area between the rock, let's say, or the gravel and the ice, a certain slickness, right?
And it becomes a lubricant for the rest of the ice sheet.
Exactly, which again actually accelerates the melting, right? And I don't care about ice, ice that's on the ocean. I only care about ice that's on the land, because that's the only kind of ice that would significantly increase the level of water in the oceans. But we didn't consider any of this. So I remember this was well before we even had the show, but then when we had the show, we talked about this, Dave. I remember saying, the one thing I'm certain about is that any of the projections they have given us for, the climate change, whatever you want to call it, are completely wrong. That's the only thing I'm certain of. And it's gonna be a lot faster. We're gonna get to wherever, they think we're going to get a lot faster, because there are a lot of things we just don't know. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. The temperatures we are reaching now, as the average temperatures, etc., are something that we should have gotten to by the end of this century, in 2100. We're there now. Not 2100, but now, right? So our best modeling is only as good as all the data and our understanding of it. It's like a sausage machine. You put nonsense in, you get nonsense out. That's just how it works, right?
Nonsense.
It doesn't matter how sophisticated the model is. Yeah, sausage. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much computing power you have. It doesn't matter unless you give it the right data. The same with AI, by the way, right? You have to feed it the right data, and then you have to check it, double check it, etc. But we just don't know, because, well, we don't know, right? And that's okay. But we act like we know, which is of course completely incorrect. So there are huge gaps in our understanding of what the world really is like. Another of my favorite things, this is part of geology, but also paleontology, is this riverbed, which has on it footprints of creatures, dinosaurs and others, that should not coexist. Yet in this riverbed, you can see the footprints on each other, stepping on each other's footprints, right? Not in parallel, not maybe taken some time after, but actually stepping on each other's footprints of creatures that are tens of millions of years apart, according to our understanding. Clearly wrong, though, including, and that's something nobody ever mentions, human footprints. Human footprints, or human-looking footprints, that are, oddly enough, coexistent with dinosaur footprints. Right? Now, no, I'm not a creationist, okay? But you can't argue this away. It's there. There it is. Look at it, right? So what do you do with that? So, Dave, I'm really worried that our hubris, our inability to admit that we just don't know, will eventually sink us. That's what I'm really worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This complete lack of humility and the ability to change one's opinion, one's mind in the face of overwhelming evidence. And I don't mean 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years after the fact, which is what happens today, but immediately. As soon as someone is proven wrong or something is proven wrong, we should go, hey, this is wrong. Let's go some other way here, please. Okay? And this goes in every aspect of life, including what we're seeing politically, right? I can tell you right now, the depopulation of Gaza, the conflict between Iran and Israel, no matter who wins here, they're irrelevant, will cause a lot more grief over the next 50 to 100 years than otherwise. We have created a lot more people that have nothing to lose now, that would be willing, in my opinion, to just go and blow things up. That's what I think.
I'm going to start with the empowerment that a puffed chest has provided to now take on Iran after Gaza is off the charts. I totally believe that. I've watched so much media on it, probably 20 hours in the last couple of days. And the thing that I've heard from both sides is, first, let's go with Iran. They made a threat to say anyone who has helped Israel is going to feel the wrath of Iran. So I went looking for stories, Mekki, and I've found, well, not in the original missile strikes from Israel to Iran, apparently, because everyone denied that assistance from the US. But when Iran retaliated, here's a news story. I've got it on screen. It says US helps Israel shoot down Iranian missiles amid growing conflict. Okay, so you helped. You did help. Maybe you helped in the beginning. Who knows? Is this because they refused to sign on the first contact? That apparently this whole conflict, Mekki, was meant to have taken place in April this year already. And it was put on hold. Okay. Put on hold. Because they were trying to negotiate. And when that kind of fell through, then, well, it seemed like it was game on. Now, I'm not trying to take sides. I just wish no one was fighting at all on the entire planet. And I'm not saying that I'm Jesus calling for peace, because I'm not. I am not, because everyone who does that ends up dead. Doesn't matter who you are and what year. 2,000 years ago. Who cares, right? Peace on earth. Yeah, it never works out for anyone else. I've got a song on Spotify, to be honest, that I use the beautiful words of Anwar Sadat in the Middle East, saying, basically, I want peace in the Middle East, and then how should he die? Is it a missile? No. Was it America? No. It was his own security team that shot him because they didn't like the fact that, well, that would be their jobs gone if there was peace in the Middle East. I don't know what the true motive was. I think they just hated him. But there you go. So, will it end here? No. Is it going to go on for weeks? Probably. How many things can you destroy in Iran and still have a country that's operational? Unless, Mekki, of course, your goal is to make it look like Gaza. Then they've got heaps of time left to do that, because if you've seen Gaza, that's uninhabitable.
Now, Iran is actually a huge country. Mm-hmm. It is. It's massive. I mean, it's much, much bigger than Israel, right? It's gigantic. It's got 90 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And probably about 100 million by now. And Israel has got, like, what, 12 million? Whatever the case may be.
And it's really tiny. Israel's tiny.
tiny.
A
Israel is
single modern
tiny.
nuke would wipe the entire thing off the face of the planet.
Oh, but not that we're advocating this by any means.
No, not
right?
advocating violence at all. But it depends on
that
who
is correct.
wishes to be the arbitrator of peace here.
Yeah, it's a relatively well, I wouldn't say young country. It's 80% of its population is aged between 15 and 64, so it's about normal, right? But it has, it's huge. It is really, really big, and the army is also very large. It is the premier non-Israeli military power in the region, right? It really is, and I find it astounding that Israel would willingly go to war, because this is not a surgical operation anymore, right? This was the destruction of several nuclear sites or nuclear research facilities, nuclear scientists, as well as military leadership. I mean, really senior military leadership. But having said that, if you look at the timeline as well, you have to look at the timeline here. Are we surprised? A little bit, but not really, because October happened, right? Israel was attacked, so they say, by a whole group of people. It wasn't all Hezbollah, wasn't all Hamas, wasn't all this, wasn't all that, but there were many splinter groups involved in the attack. All right, that's why it's so hard for the hostages to be freed, because they're held by so many different groups within Gaza. But there's the attack. 1,200 Israelis were killed. In the meantime, with the Gaza operations, 50,000 plus Gazans have now been killed, as well as several foreign people, citizens of other countries that were aid workers or otherwise, and so that's sort of underway. So Gaza is being completely leveled. That was a big one. Hezbollah was significantly degraded with the attack on its military and communications infrastructure. I'm talking about the pages and the cell phones. Okay, and that was a huge blow to the Lebanese-based group. And then the next thing, we're doing the same thing in the West Bank, and on it went. And from the declaration that Israel is now going to clear Gaza and take it, which I said from the start. The end game here is to get all the Palestinians out of Gaza. But it is now logical that because they have degraded the organizations that Iran was supporting and funding, including the Houthis, right, in Yemen, right, including, look, Syria also is now no longer an adversary, because it contended with its own internal revolution. So that's like Syria is no longer much of a threat to Israel, and Israel took the I guess the opportunity to bomb certain sites in Syria to even further degrade any threat to itself. So the only player left that could pose any harm to Israel was in fact Iran. And now, because all the other things have been taken care of, the immediate, close quarter threats to Israel have been taken care of, they can now focus on taking care of Iran, because they don't have to worry too much about anything coming out of Gaza or anything coming out of southern Lebanon, or even coming out of Yemen, right? So they can truly focus on Iran. So from a timeline perspective, go on.
We've only got 1 minute left, and I've got a point here. Israel's size and population is similar to New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
It's really nothing.
It's tiny.
I know, it's tiny.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Iran's military has about 610,000 active duty personnel plus 350,000 reservists. So they've got about 1 million strong army. That's Iran. It's not tiny, and like I said, they've got stockpiles of ballistic missiles, etc., etc. So this is not someone you pick a fight with willy-nilly. But for
Apparently
Israel at this point in time, it makes perfect sense. It made perfect sense to do it now, right?
Yeah,
before
that's right.
Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis could recover, in my opinion.
I just don't want to see all of those names found in the Bible prophecies to start hitting the news. That's what I don't want.
Oh, brother.
And look, there's the beginning of our ad break. There's the music for the ad break. This has been David Meckie's Shiny Side Out, do like, share, subscribe, and comment to any video you see of ours. Try and help us with the algorithm. And we're going to be back after this short break with, believe it or not, Human-Animal Hybrids Part 3. So we'll see you shortly after the break.